off today's show telling you how to maybe get organized, because that's another thing that many of us struggle with when it comes to, you know, perhaps that's your New Year's resolution and you need some ideas on how to get back on track with that. Well, Steve Gingras joins us. He is a organizational coach, volunteer here at Rogers TV for a long time. Steve, welcome. Great to have you here.
Derek. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. The first thing I have to ask, because under these lights it is boiling in here today, why are you wearing a jacket and a hat indoors?
Well, being the theme of winter, I decided I would dress the part then.
I see.
Under these hot lights and this very hot room.
Well, we appreciate that, you sticking to the theme. And we're going to talk first of all about the fact that, you know, many of us are waking up in the dark, and at the end of the day, we're going home in the dark. How does that affect us, Steve?
Well, if you're looking at waking up in the morning, probably anybody that has any kind of job there usually is a 9 to 5 type of thing then. So there's getting up around 7 o'clock. If we all happen to notice right now, it's extremely dark when we get up there, so you would not even know if it was 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7, 3. So we got to do little things to make things a little bit easier, and I brought along some of the items you'll see on the table.
All
and we're
right.
going to talk about those.
Well, what do you want to talk about first? What would you like to...
Let's talk about the alarm clock. You mentioned that you actually had one. And it's very effective.
these are a great idea. Tell us exactly how this works.
Well, the idea behind this is when the it'll start lighting up the room 15 minutes before alarm goes off.
Okay.
And it's a very gradual. So when you see that too, it'll eventually illuminate the whole room. So by the time the alarm goes off, you have some light in there then. So it gives you a little feel of warmth or whatever like that.
Right.
The fact that, and you probably had some good experiences with that.
I have, because you know what I think it is too? I think sort of psychologically, even when our eyes are closed, as that gradual light starts coming, it's really like the sunrise,
exactly.
right? That's exactly what it's supposed to be like. And I think psychologically, you start waking up without even opening your eyes yet, right? And I think that's part of the research behind something like this.
Right, exactly. Like let's say it's 7 o'clock then, and you put it on let's say FM, then you've got like Motley Crue coming at you on 10 at 7 o'clock in the morning. It's going to jolt you there, and you're right into the dark then. So not a great way to start your day.
Yeah, agreed. Let's talk about, you know, the lack of sunlight is also, it can affect people. I was telling you, I have a friend, you know, who deals with SAD every year, seasonal affective disorder. And this other one you have over here, sort of like I guess that's supposed to what, mimic the type of sunlight?
There. So like if any time during the day, then unless you have your blinds open and you have the sun radiating in there, then it's going to be it's a pretty dark time during the winter. Because if you look at this past week, it's kind of been cloudy almost every single day,
right.
And I think once in a while you get a sun for maybe an afternoon or something then. So this is supposed to mimic that, so I won't put it too bright there, but it'll illuminate. And anything like this goes anywhere from $25 into hundreds of dollars, then depending on the size and, the things like that too. So that should help you a little bit then. If you get a little bit of sun, especially on a cloudy day such as today, then it's nice to have this.
So do you do that like for 15 minutes? Do you keep it on all day? What do you recommend?
A lot of times I'll be working at my desk on my computer at home, then I'll turn this on. Let's say I'm doing a task for half an hour. I'll put this on just off to the side there.
Right.
And it sort of gives you like a little bit of warmth feeling that it motivates you just a little bit then, but every little bit helps.
Right, exactly. Let's talk. Yeah, we'll have you turn that off just because what did you bring this along for? This looks like an old school alarm clock.
Lovely. Now these days, then you're able to a little bit of.
I see.
So the idea too is, let's say you're having a very unproductive day there. So you'd say, I'm going to take 15 minutes, time it there, to do that too. And it's great with the way they've made them these days with the actual
the face of it there?
The color thing there too, because it actually shows you. You can actually follow
precisely
that.
how much.
It's kind of glanced there, because the old way would be like, I'm going to look at the clock, look at my watch, or whatever like that. That's just a better way of doing that.
Yeah, and people tell you, you know, to get active throughout your day too, right? And maybe, as you said, maybe even if it's a 10-minute thing, you're going to get up and maybe do a couple of exercises, and you can see how much time, as you said, at a glance. Let's talk about planning your day.
Sure.
Many of us do a really poor job of planning our day. I was telling you how I like to have a physical calendar in front of me, that monthly calendar where I can can look at my week or my month. I know what's coming up. Not that I don't use technology, but tell us the, the benefits of using something like this, Steve.
Exactly, then, because let's say you want to start the day and say, let's at least do 3 things, and so you make sure you mark that down, assign a time to it, so you actually take a commitment. Because naturally, as we were talking about saying, when you get up in the morning, you'd say, well, it's dark, then it might be your day off, and say, on a Saturday, and say, oh, geez, it's 10 o'clock, I still haven't got out of bed yet then, because it's still gloomy outside and everything like that, too. So if you have something like that, it's almost like you're making a promise to yourself at 9 o'clock, clean out kitchen cupboard or whatever like that, or whatever your day is then. And it's also the fact, too, that it lets you see that you actually did something that day. Because, I mean, how many people have had days where they'd sit there, what did I do all day? I watched TV, I puttered around then, I looked out the window a little bit then. So it's just like it gives you something, a feeling of accomplishment. You can check it off that you've done there, and then even transfer it onto a bigger book to say that this is what I did this week.
My wife is really good at doing that, and I would suggest to people putting those small tasks, right? We tend to put the really large tasks instead of breaking it down.
Right.
And when you break it down to smaller tasks, you feel like you've accomplished so much more.
Yeah, because if you put down the on your agenda there, clean out basement, well, that could take 3 days.
Exactly.
So it's just like saying, do I go straight for 3 days, or I break it down into smaller chunks? And so if you do it that way, saying do left corner, get rid of old boxes, get rid of old bottles, whatever like that, then check that off there. Then you'll see eventually moving down the list, you'll feel good that you actually start to accomplish something.
I know I touched on this very briefly, but giving those mini bursts of energy, right, really important during the day.
Absolutely, then, because it makes you, that's why something like this is really good. Say, I feel really motivated now. Let me grab my timer, put it on there, give myself 20 minutes, because I really feel like I can get this done there, too.
You and I talked about this off camera before we came on live here, and that's getting outdoors.
Yes.
And no matter what you're doing, right, it's important to get some fresh air.
Because the first thing we always do is try to make an excuse. Too cold, too windy, too much snow. There's freezing rain in the forecast. Just a multitude of different excuses then. So look at it this way. When you also talked about your love of curling then. It's when you get to the winter months, you go, oh boy, it may be cold, it may be dreary, but I get to go curling. Or it could be like I'm cross-country skiing or anything like that. And with technology and everything that we have, there's no reason to be freezing when you're outside anyways. There's so many layers of clothes and things like that we have, including our lovely cap there.
Putting this little light on. Steve, always a pleasure having you. I'm going to throw this on so I can see what I'm doing. We'll be right back with more right after this.